Hey, welcome to Common Spurs TV, where we talk about everything Spurs. Today we are previewing the match against Brentford at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, kickoff 3 p.m. on Saturday. Yes, we will be looking at that. Joining me on the other side is Chuma. In the meantime, come on, you Spurs. Welcome to Come On You Spurs TV, where we talk about everything Spurs. With me today, I've got Chuma. I want to say a big shout out to all those who support us by subscribing, by hitting the like button, and leaving comments. Thank you so much. Please continue to do so. If you're first time here, do that right now. The subscribe button is at the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And yes, so Chuma, how are you?
Abundantly blessed, abundantly blessed. Last home game, we made it. We've made it to the last 2 games of the season. We're both alive. Our blood pressures are perfect for now, and yeah, consistently inconsistent Spurs, like you
Oh,
said.
wow. I was gonna go with consistently poor, but hey, well, I guess it's the same
We're not even consistent being poor. We could be poor, and then we go poorer, then come back to poor, slightly improve to average, then come back down again. So yeah,
It hasn't been
you
pretty.
just don't know.
Last game away to beat Villa was a big damp squib. I expected a lot more
Shambles.
from that game, and it turned out to be absolute shambles in the end. I mean, talk us through that, Chum. I mean, I know you saw a bit of it.
I switched off. I was one of many that switched off because there was just nothing happening. There was no, you know, I, to be fair, it was one team showed you that they had no manager, no real full time manager, no real full time tactics or anything like that. And the other team showed you a disciplined, well drilled machine and how it works. Aston Villa were well drilled. Aston Villa played very well, but they didn't do anything spectacular. They didn't have to. They just had their identity and their idea of what they wanted to do. Tottenham looked like we had no plan. We had no creativity. We had no options, and and I mean, for a team to play, we talked about it in the aftermatch show. For a team to actually be brave enough to play a high line against Tottenham with a Son, and a Richarlison in the same side, and realizing that we couldn't hurt them or we wouldn't time our burst in time, they played it deliberately, and we got caught offside so many times in that game. And you're looking at the players like maybe you should be better, maybe you should, but it's a team that is bereft of leadership, proper leadership. And as much as we like Ryan Mason, to me, everyone says football is up and down. He flopped his audition for the thing. Everyone's saying, yeah, but some teams lose. But this is like, if he had only been consistent, we would have considered him. But you could see it. Emery outcoached him. Emery has already drilled his machine into Villa, and Tottenham needs something like that to happen. We need a manager that is going to do the best.
Now, this is one of those interesting um, areas of football, and I'm going to sort of point you to a little bit of a stat that I sort of picked up while doing a bit of research for this program, and it's on Brentford's coach Thomas Frank. Thomas
Mm,
Frank has been in position since 2018. Before that,
mm,
he was at Brøndby in Denmark, and
mhm.
prior to that, he'd never coached a first team. Before that, he was always, I mean, at least club side. Anyway, he was always
Danish junior teams, yeah,
yeah,
national junior teams. Yeah.
and then he came in, did a bit of work in there, got them on to third and fourth places in Brøndby, and came to Brentford as an assistant coach, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And subsequent to that, he got appointed when Dean Smith left as the coach. A bit of an interesting stat is that there was one point when he had won only one match in 10 games. Now, that for me, in the Premier League of what we have today,
Sackable.
is sackable. I mean, without even you wouldn't even get as
100%.
far as that level, right? But Brentford have kept faith with him since 2018. This is the 5th year in the job, and it's got a contract for 4 years that started from 2022. Now, that means potentially he should be there from 2026 if he doesn't get the sack. And look what he's done with Brentford. Brentford at not only in the Premier League, even though this is only their 2nd year, right? They seem to be, this is their 3rd year actually. They seem to be like, how am I going to put this now? The teams you don't travel with, especially this season we just coming to the end of. And they've grown in stature over time. They're not even battling relegation, and he has an identity. He's built an identity into that team. He knows that they don't have a lot of what I call flair, but they're effective. The vast majority of their goals, I'm sure, have come from set pieces, and they do so well. A match against them, they scored from set pieces, didn't they? And it's the one away that we play against them. Even though our head-to-heads, let's just have a quick look at the head-to-heads for now, right? So the head-to-heads shows something like this, right? So if you look at it, we played 4 matches in the Premier League history, or okay, before. This is probably going to be the 4th match, but before that we played against them in the Carabao Cup. Even though we won that match, the other matches, we won 2-0 when Conte just started with us, and then we've had 2 draws since then, a 0-0 and a 2-2 at the tail end of 2022 in the reverse picture for this one. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is this, right? We have a situation whereby they have a coach who, on the face of it, hasn't got Premiership experience, right? But Brentford kept faith with him, and he's taking them to a heights where, okay, fine, that they're doing really, really well, right? What's to say that that same thing will not happen to Mason if we kept Mason? That's just me putting it out there. Who knows,
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, but in what you've described, there are 2 different kinds of managers. Because while you may say Mason is what he is, Thomas Frank has completed his 10,000 hours. Being Danish under 17 and under 18 and under 20 manager, he's actually prepared young boys to play, right? Then he became Brøndby manager for more than 2 seasons. So he's actually cut his teeth as a manager. Ryan Mason hasn't. So while, yes, he did suffer a bit after Dean Smith left and he had the run, he'd actually done his due diligence before he became a manager. So yes. And then the fact was, Brentford were in a position when he took over where Brentford are okay to give him a chance to see what he could do, because the feedback coming from the training ground was the guy is excellent. It's just a matter of time. But he had credit in the bank. For me as a manager anyway, I think he had a lot of credit in the bank. Ryan Mason has none. And I personally think if Ryan Mason had gone to coach somewhere else and came back to Spurs, he'd be better for it. So that therein lies my own. I still insist till tomorrow, and I'm saying it on this show so other Tottenham fans can look at it. I don't understand why Chris Powell was not and has not ever been given the interim role at Tottenham. Chris Powell has managed 2 or 3 sides in the Championship and League One. Chris Powell is infinitely more experienced than Ryan Mason. Chris Powell at least would know what to do to set up a team, at least not to concede and not to lose. So I don't understand. I would have had Chris Powell being assisted by Mason instead of Stellini, because Chris Powell has actually done seasons as a manager. But for whatever reason, he's not even in the backroom staff this period as well. I think because maybe he's more committed to England now. He's an England first team coach, and he's an overseer of the Spurs. But for me, Ryan Mason, it's a step too far, too early. I don't even know if the new coach, whoever the new manager would be, if he would even have him in his backroom staff. I don't know. I wouldn't. I would think that they're all looking over their shoulders now that Ryan Mason is coming for their job. I think whoever is next will let him go. That's what I believe. Whoever is next, in order for him to have a clean slate, has to let Ryan Mason go. So Ryan Mason has to decide if he's still going to stay in the Spurs. But he's had a taste now. I think Ryan Mason wants to be a manager. It's just unfortunate that Brentford fans are not Spurs fans. He could coach Brentford. He can't coach Spurs. The fans will not stand for it. The minute he starts to lose, they will turn. So,
Interesting. I mean, so here we are. We have uh, Mr. Mason, who's like what a rookie manager, if you like, right?
mhm.
And we have what's the word, Mr. Levy, looking out there for someone to come in and do a job for the team for next season. I know we have plenty of talk to talk about over the course of the season, but we're looking at a match between Brentford and um, and Tottenham at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday. I mean, all right, so we have been inconsistent, right? We've
Mhm.
been relatively poor for a long part of the season. But despite that, we're still fighting for Europe. I mean, despite our inconsistencies and the difficulties we've been through. I mean, um, totally against the what you might call but it's looking like if we don't win our next two matches, we're probably going to end up being seventh or eighth in the league. Which the way the season has gone, probably not too bad if you like, considering how how the season has panned out. Um, However, I mean, if you want to say, look, in terms of form, let's just have a quick look at the form guide. It probably gives us an idea of where things are. I mean, in comparison to where we were. I mean, where, um, I mean, if we want to sort of look at both teams, I mean, thinking, look, if if I had a crystal ball and said, look, looking ahead to this match, what would I predict? Given what has happened last 6 games for both teams. If you look at our form, we've lost 4 games out of the last six. Only once in that time. And in comparison, Brentford have lost only twice. I mean, well, not only they lost twice, but they won thrice in that time. And you can see that in terms of consistency, they are probably much more consistent than us.
Yeah,
If you look at
indeed.
the run of games that they, they've been involved in. So it's for me, it creates a bit of difficulty from a predictability point of view. What do you think?
Well, you latched onto a key word. You said Thomas Frank brought an identity. Look at that form. Look at the form. You can see a team that knows how to play together and they know how to play to their strengths. And their strengths are they counter attack very well. They have a big man who would be absent for this game, which may also be a game changer for them and for us as well. Ivan Tony, they have Umbuemo playing off him. They have these different players. They all work as a unit. Tottenham's form tells you our team is not playing as a collective together. We're not playing, we don't have a plan. We can't stick to whatever plan we get. We are not consistent in how we go about our business on the pitch. There's no leadership per se, and it's just looking like you know they're off on their holidays. It's sad to say, but that's what it looks like because you're watching players. There's nothing going on that gives you any hope. I have no hope for this match in terms of a win. I'll be very honest. We'll get to that later, but in terms of form, we have relegation form, and all the good thing of Spurs right now is similar to the same problem Chelsea had. Chelsea are only out of the relegation places because of all the work that Thomas Tuchel did at the start of the season. We are there, ironically, because of all the work Antonio Conte did at the start of the season. And to be honest with you, hearing reports that one of the major disagreements Daniel Levy had with Antonio Conte was he wanted him to stay till the end of the season. Said, you want to leave, fine. Stay till the end of the season. And I could see the sense in that because even though the football was dour, turgid, negative, there was still structure. And certain players could shine individually and give us a win or eke out a draw. But now, ever since he left, it's just been a free fall spiral because players know I can't be held accountable. The season has gone to pot. I like Ryan, but I won't kill myself for Ryan. Whereas they were afraid of Conte, they're afraid of this. They work to his patterns. So that's what's happening now. You look at our form, look at their form. It is pointing towards a Brentford win, unfortunately.
Interesting you say that. Very, very interesting. And I'll tell you why I say it's interesting. So, um, the vast majority of um, Brentford's play is centered around Mr. Tony. Whether I like it or not, he's central to the attacking threat. He's their focal point, right? That's not to say he hasn't missed a few matches from injury this season, but he's been consistently, consistent. I mean, that word, that expression again,
That would come back.
in performing for the team, and he actually got a call
Yeah.
up for England as well.
Yeah.
Which tells you the level of form that he's in. And people have said that if and we're coming to that in a minute, that if Harry Kane leaves at the end of the season, which a lot of people are alluding to, who knows whether or not that had any truth in it, that we should consider getting Ivan Toney into the team. But I mean, I'm not sure that's a go at the moment, given that the fact that he's been suspended for 8 months for off field reasons, which we don't want to go into too much on this episode. But the most important thing for us is that he's not available but they still got a lot of very good players as well. They got Mboma. Bomo is fantastic as well. It's not a bad player either. I mean, you got that Miss Rico Henry guy, and they have a really, really good keeper. I mean, the midfield is it may not be fantastic, but it's solid. They don't concede many goals. So that's
Yeah.
I mean, in the last match, I watched the match against Chelsea, and even though they survived a few bits of Chelsea attack away, which is expected, you're not exactly going to go to the bridge and expect not to face consistent attack, but they held their own and came away with 2-0 winners at Stamford Bridge. Granted, Chelsea are going through a bit of transition at this point in time, but it's still a win, no doubt. I mean, they were there for the taking, and they took it. So that tells you that they're not a team to be trifled with. They beat Liverpool earlier on this season at home. They beat Man United 4-0, if I remember. That so they're not a pushover side at all. However, I think given the way we've been consistently inconsistent, I think it's one of those matches where we're probably just going to pull one out of the hat and sort of being the final home game of the season. You never know, and people want to go away, and have the crowd, I know this is when the last home game of the season they have all these nominations, best player of the season, awards and all that sort of thing, and the best young player of the season and all that sort of thing, right? So people want to go away on a high. I think that might work in our favor in that respect. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I don't doubt that. I think realistically, the players would want to really step up because at the end of the game, the last home game, you and your families have to do the walk around.
Absolutely.
So nobody wants to be walking around with their wife and their kids and getting booed. Even though the fans don't really boo, they respect them. The fans respect that. Most fans are very decent. They will still clap you out, but they are disappointed in how. So I think they will really step up. It's going to be so important. You want to end the season at home on a high, a real high. So I think that would play a factor. However, Brentford are organized. They are very well organized. They are very well drilled, and they are conscious as well that Tottenham have been notorious slow starters all season. It's heightened in this last the running. First, I mean, remember what we said? We were saying first 15 minutes against when we won against Palace, we're like, oh my god, first 15 minutes we didn't concede. But what happened to us at Villa? First 15, first 20, bam. And as soon as that happened, the sinking feeling came back. Tottenham can't hold out. If they score first, what happens to our confidence? What happens to the players? But like you said, home court. Let's see whether that plays a part. But I'm not in any way optimistic. I tried to drink some Optimus Prime juice, but I can't. I really tried. I tried, but no. But the only thing, like you said earlier on, was the only shining thing in Spurs' favor, I think, is Ivan Toney not playing. because not only is he not playing, his 8 month suspension for outside football activities, that could play a part in the heads of his players as well. Because whenever he's been out, I can't remember who's replaced him. That's how not memorable, if that's a word, the replacement striker is. I don't know who his replacement striker is. That the person doesn't even figure. It's always Ivan Tony and Buemo playing off him. That's all I know. So so I don't know who would replace him. I don't know how they will replace. You can't replace that kind of you know figure. He's such a huge. He's larger than life at Brentford. He's lived up to every billing since they bought him from, I think it was from Peterborough. They got him from. He's been everything for Brentford. He's scored the goals. He's led the line very, very well. He takes their penalties as well. So now you're replacing a guy who does all that in one. It's very, very challenging. So and one of my things was he would have really bothered the Spurs defense. So now he's out. If they have a smaller player, Romero is good enough to say, okay, I can handle. But Ivan Toney would have given them a real run for their money. So maybe. But then again, I'll go negative again. Pardon me, common you Spurs fans. It's a 12:30 kickoff. I've said it time without number. Whenever Spurs play these early kickoffs, I am not a fan. I'm not a fan of early kickoffs for Spurs. I don't know. If I don't know if you can run the stats, you see that we don't do very well in early kickoffs. We don't. So therein lies the thing.
Yeah, talking uh, of what am I call stats and I call them superstitions, right? When it comes to football, because people have these things like I remember when I used to go to White Hart Lane, and I mean, then I was sitting to get there, and I I had times that if I parked in a particular place, we would lose. you know, so
I know the feeling.
so I had this thing like I wasn't parked in this particular place, even if there was space. So I mean, some days you have no choice but to park there because and then you hope that okay, maybe this is going to be the change. But it ends up not happening like that. So.
And I understand exactly what that is.
Yeah, so I mean, okay, so with Ivan Tony not being there, it could well play on their mind, like you said, and which sort of leads us to this thing about potential lineups, right? So from our perspective, I don't know how they're going to line up, but let's just focus on our side, for instance, and we see what we're looking at in terms of our own team. I've got more or less the whole squad on this screen now. I mean, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
you can see that. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm going to sort of change back to a mode whereby we can sort of change things as we go along, right? So here we are. Most likely going to be Foster in goal, presumably, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I suspect that we probably will have the same thing that we had last week, which is Emerson, Romero, and Longley, or Emerson,
Yeah.
yeah, Emerson, Romero, and Longley. Yeah, correct.
And Davies, yes.
And so we'll probably have Dan on the bench again, right?
Yes. Yes.
Uh, Emerson, Romero, Davis, and Longley. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
Taganga is not out of the picture. Perisic will
Hmm.
probably be in the dog. Will be on the bench as well, presumably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, we have that sort of formation there. Okay, and then Sanchez not there either. Now, here's where it might get interesting. You think he might bring on Bissouma or not?
I think Bissouma starts. I think Bissouma
Ahead of
starts.
Skip or ahead of Hoiberg?
I think he starts ahead of Skip.
Okay, right.
So I think
And
it's Hoiberg. I think it's
Star will
Hoiberg
also
and
be on the bench, presumably, right?
yes.
So the team more or less selects itself. I mean, if we look at it that way, if you think, okay, fine, and then Poro on the other side as well, right?
Yes.
And then up front, we had this is a tricky one from the up front perspective. So here we have Kane, a definite starter, yeah.
Yes.
Danjuma probably on the bench. So it's really a question of who we're starting. Are we starting Kulusevski or are we starting Son? Or are we starting
I,
Richarlison?
I honestly think it should be Kulusevski, Kane, and Son. I don't know why. I think it should be. Richarlison has not shown me anything. He's still a fish out of water playing that right side for me. He tries. He's one of our best pressers. However, when he gets possession, nothing really happens. Kulusevski hasn't set the season on fire. His hamstring injuries, his absences from the team has cost him a lot. Um, Plus, I think some teams figured him out a bit. But I still see him as, if you get it right and get the ball to him at the right time, I see Kulusevski being better. So Kulusevski, Kane, and Son. That's what I would play in this game. I'll play them in this game more than I would anywhere else. I'll play them in this game. I'd rather play Richarlison away from home.
Right. Okay. So the team predicted lineup is Foster in goal, a back three of Emerson, Romero, and Longley, and they're switching into back four when they're in possession, and out of possession, a back three, right? And then they
Mm-hmm.
have Porro on the right hand side and Davis on the left hand side, and midfield of
Yeah.
Bissouma and Højbjerg. So the only change would be Kulusevski and Bissouma starting ahead of Skip and
Yeah.
Richarlison. Right.
Yeah.
So, would love to hear from you. What you think of this lineup? Leave your comment in the comment section below, and let us hear what you think. Right. Scoreline, scoreline. This is where we get a little bit interesting, isn't it? Because I know we have this little this thing going on at the moment of, hey, I mean, we're not playing too well, we're inconsistent, a lot of negativity and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to sort of um, say for sure how things are going to turn out. So, but I mean, what do you reckon? I mean, scoreline, give us a scoreline
I,
prediction.
I, I was going to go very negative, but then I go, you know what? It's the last game of the season, last home game of the season. So fans behind the players who want to lose. I don't think they want to lose. They'll do anything not to lose in front of the fans. So I'll go for a 2-2,
Okay.
but but I don't see Spurs winning.
Right. So you know me. I'm forever optimistic. I think that we will a 2-0 Spurs win. Richarlison coming off the bench and scoring.
Richarlison scoring the winner. That'll be
Yeah. So and
interesting.
then Bissouma scoring one as well. So yes, let's see what that looks like. Yeah. So we'd love to hear from you as well, from home if you're watching us. What your score prediction is if you agree with us, and let us know in the comment section. Yeah, so we look forward to seeing you on the match, and of course, I mean post match, we have the aftermath where we give the verdict, and of course, join us then. It probably starts at about I think it's 3:15. I think 3:15
Yeah,
the
3-15 before the other game
yeah
start. Yes.
for the what's the word aftermath live stream from Common Spurs TV. It's been fantastic having you, Chuma, as always.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. In the meantime, come on, you Spurs.
Yes.